Hey guys, welcome to Game Soup Classic Analysis. In this series, we go over classic games and we focus on the game design aspects of the old games. This is Joe.
This is Ed. This is a classic game, Home Alone.
This episode is Super Nintendo games that are movie related.
Was this for Genesis as well?
I'm pretty sure there was a Home Alone game for Genesis, but we're playing the Super Nintendo one today. Actually, this is pre-recorded. I played this earlier today, and we're just going to talk over it now. All the classic analysis episodes from now on, and I think the last one we did was also pre-recorded. So we're so that we can focus more.
The toys. I want that kid's toys.
So that we can focus more on the talking. So it's kind of distracting to try and do a competent analysis while you're playing a game.
Did you like that photorealistic house?
Yeah, it was really good.
That one image as an introduction.
So this is Home Alone. You start with a water gun, which does almost nothing.
But it does actually damage things, right? Or does it
There's sort of damage. You can
Yeah.
stun enemies.
Right.
I'm not sure if you can kill anything. I never discovered how to, even as a kid. I never beat the game. I never got very far in it. You have a little more experience with it than I do.
Yeah, I actually owned this game, and I think it's still upstairs, actually. I do own this game. And have for about 10 years.
So the idea of the game is you have to collect all the valuable objects from the house and then put them in those laundry chutes.
Right.
And they have a huge house. The McAllisters are loaded.
Yeah. Yeah, they must be. To have a house this big.
And I wanted to mention before, when you saw that it's kind of difficult to jump over the enemies in this game, but if you shoot them with the squirt gun, they become stunned and duck a little bit, which is supposed to make it a little bit easier to jump over the enemies, but it's not really that much easier. You saw that I got hit earlier trying to jump over the guy. And also a pizza just came out from behind that mirror.
Of course.
And it gave, I think it gives you a life. No, if you get 8 slices, I think you get a life. So that they're sort of like coins, I guess, in the game.
Oh god, memories. I haven't seen this game in forever.
So the graphics are pretty bad.
Yeah, I was just thinking about how bad Kevin's sprite is.
They're all very, very saturated, and the animation is pretty bad. And there's Joe Pesci.
Yeah,
I think this might be Joe Pesci's first appearance in a video game. No, it can't be. I think probably the NES version might have been his first appearance in a video game. But yeah, he looks just like him. It's uncanny how they got the likeness there.
Well, the Joe Pesci sprite looks pretty good, I gotta say, compared to Kevin's.
Yeah.
This is the face you stare at.
I think they probably put their best guy on the Joe Pesci sprite there.
I always imagine him peeing down the chute there.
Kind of looks like that.
And also, why do they have a vault?
They had to come up with some kind of a mechanic that would translate into a video game, and they probably could have done better. I agree, but that was what they came up with, was saving all this stuff and, risking a child risking his life to save stuff.
Yeah, which, I don't know, it's kind of silly when we get to the Addams Family game. That has a pretty cohesive, I mean, not a storyline, but, gives you a premise, and that actually makes sense. It's certainly more logical than this one. You're collecting treasure.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were we
You
gonna
can see I just made the jumps over that guy.
Yeah.
So there was an example of doing it properly, except I went nowhere. There was nothing on the other side of him.
Right. I remember that. There's a lot of dead ends in this game.
Yeah, it's very confusing. Like this game's almost like Friday the 13th for NES in the way that you navigate it. Okay, this part makes no sense.
Oh yeah.
You can't jump on this table. There's other tables in the game and other things that are that high that you can jump on, but here Kevin for some reason is heavy enough
only in this room
to stomp that ring down onto the ground. This is the only room that you ever have to do that mechanic.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's completely illogical.
Yeah,
it's
very inconsistent, and it's pretty poor from a design standpoint.
I bet they were like, oh, look at that guy.
And there's Marv.
Yeah, he's really a redhead in this game. Super red.
So he got me.
Oh, yeah.
And that's about all we got for Home Alone.
Yeah,
that's the only footage I recorded.
I mean, there's not much more to say about it. It's pretty lackluster. Yeah. I do like the amount of color, even though it's saturated. I have a thing for saturated.
I do like saturated colors, but it's far too much, and it goes beyond the point of being too saturated to where it's difficult to tell what things are sometimes and what you can stand on.
Yeah. And the collision with that game is just all over the place. I remember that specifically.
Yeah.
Now here we have a classic.
So here's Bebe's Kids for Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
This game is notoriously bad for being one of the worst games of that generation.
I remember the first time we played this, we weren't sure if it was like glitching out because of how slow it was.
Yeah, it's as slow as it looks.
Oh god.
It's trying to be a brawler. It's trying to be a beat 'em up kind of game. And I've played just about every beat 'em up game from the 16-bit era and 8-bit era, and most of the arcade games actually from
Yeah.
that era, and most modern brawlers. This is one of the worst, if not the worst, that I've ever played. I think I would probably give this worst brawler award.
I can't imagine anything that would be worse than this, honestly. Look at that. Look at those rules back there. No vibes, no Beavis.
Right.
What does that mean?
I don't know. I think that's just they wanted to show that there were a lot of rules at this park. That's probably something from the movie. We've seen the movie, but I don't remember that part of the movie.
Yeah,
it's
a
I mean,
long time ago.
It was in the 90s, so I don't really remember the movie too well.
So the first thing you probably notice about this game is it looks like it's running at a quarter speed.
Yeah,
right?
This is how it's supposed to run.
Yeah.
This is how it played on the console with a cartridge. It's very bad. So you have a punch and a kick and a jump, and you notice how many times I've hit this guy?
Yeah.
This guy in the suit?
Like 20 or 30?
Yeah.
And a lot.
And you just keep going here.
It almost seems like you're not doing any damage to him. He doesn't have any sort of, like, any tail when you do damage.
Well, the sunglasses do fly off after you hit him about 16 times.
That's amazing.
There, he's gone.
Yeah.
We got him.
So it only took, however many hits. A ridiculous amount of hits. And you're still on the first screen, and meanwhile the clock is ticking down the whole time.
Yes, there is a timer in the game, which you'll see me run out of it.
Of course.
At some point.
How could you
not?
not?
In this episode.
It seems like this whole level should only have these 3 enemies because you're gonna run out of time.
Actually, I might have cut that part out. I might have cut out the part where I ran out of time. I meant to leave that in, but you can run out of time, and it's very frustrating. And you start at the very beginning.
Of course.
With the mouse and the man.
Of course.
So, I guess I'll take this opportunity to say that there are more moves than just punch and kick.
Okay.
I paused the game coming up here pretty soon to figure out how to do that.
Okay. Is there anything that's like significantly more
Here
damaging?
We go. Yes. Yes. So I skipped. Yeah, I cut out a part there. So I think this is where I run out of time actually. Yeah, I cut ahead to where I run out of time.
Wow.
But you'll see the other moves in the game pretty soon.
That would be the most frustrating thing, to be playing this game so slowly and just watch the clock tick down the whole time. Must drive you insane. Chillin'.
Yeah, that's where I looked up how to do things, because I picked up that baseball, and to throw the baseballs, you press L and R and B at the same time.
Of course. Of course.
And the other attacks, you either hold L or R and press kick or punch. I think it's like X and Y or kick and punch.
I like how you had to look that up.
Yeah, and you press L, R, and jump to throw the baseball. So you can't jump while you're throwing a baseball, but you can jump and throw a baseball.
Right.
You jump and then press LR and jump again, and it throws a baseball. So here's the uppercut. This is when you hold down L and press punch or kick.
Okay.
And the enemies take, if I can actually land a hit on them, they take 2 or 3 hits instead of 17. So basically you just need to be holding, there's no penalty for using these special attacks. So there's no reason to ever press punch and kick, so you're basically going to be holding L and R for the entire game. The control of this game is so poorly designed that it goes without saying, I can't imagine that anyone, even an 8-year-old, would make a game. I don't know how I did that roll, by the way. Here's me attempting to do it again. But there's some kind of a rolling attack that you can do.
That's
in
incredible.
This game.
I can't believe that. Your weak attack is useless, and your strong attack is actually, 3 hits and they're down. That's incredible, yeah.
This game is a testament to very poor control.
And they have the framework here. Making the framework for a brawler is not that hard. You have a level, you have some enemies, the goal is to beat them up. How could it go so wrong?
Yeah,
all these systems are just broken.
Yeah. There's also no combos at all. Every other brawler has some kind of a combo system where you hit the enemy multiple times. It makes it more fun and satisfying to hit the guy a few times before he gets knocked onto the ground. It's just kind of a basic element of brawlers, which this game does not have.
So is there more than one level in this game? I'm curious.
I've never gotten past the first level.
That's how they do replay value, I guess.
And these guys, their only attack is to grab you. No one hits you in the game. Actually, the mouse will hit you and the guy in the suit will grab you. So there's the variation in enemy design.
Right. The variation.
Yeah. The very tiny amount of variation.
Right.
And you get these basketballs, which I assume do more damage than the baseballs.
Yeah, they should, shouldn't they? He just grabs you and you kind of flail around. Is that your health bar at the top left? Those little yellow bars?
little yellow lines.
God.
And the graphics are pretty bad and repetitive, obviously. That doesn't really need to be pointed out.
Yeah, these are horrendous. Horrendous. Although I do like the foreground here. You can see like the burger shop and everything.
Yeah, you can see the tops of. I mean, I guess we'll give credit where it's due. It could have been done better, but it's still nice that they put the foreground in there, so you feel like you're kind of in an alley here.
Can you imagine if they didn't do that at all? And like the entire bottom half of the screen would just be
just bricks.
Yeah.
So it looks slightly more interesting that way. Here's the House of Glass.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, and I'm not sure, but I think you might not even have to fight any of these enemies, and you could just walk straight through it because you can scroll.
Oh,
even when the enemies are not dispatched of.
You can just bypass everything.
Yeah.
So really, this is actually a platformer with no platforms.
So the graphics there, the cutscene graphics weren't too bad.
Yeah, those are kind of nice.
The drawing is kind of nice. They might have just traced something from the movie.
Yeah.
So this, I actually don't know what to do here. I didn't feel like looking it up and figuring it out. You might have to catch a certain kind of china here. I'm not really sure.
Hey, look, it says 10 blue vases up there.
I noticed that after I recorded it and I looked up at the top, but nothing in this game is explained. And I think maybe I've never seen the instruction manual for the game. Maybe the instruction manual explains what you're supposed to do here, or what you're supposed to do in each type of segment of the game. I kind of doubt it. I imagine that it probably tells you how it controls to press L and R.
Yeah.
But so I got killed by falling china there.
Oh my god. Your health went down quick there. Allow me to escort you to more suitable attraction.
So it starts you here.
Oh my god.
So that's a Beyblades, kids.
This is the point where you turn the game off and never play it again, I guess.
Yeah.
That's annoying.
So if you're making a brawler, make it have combos, some decent animation.
Yeah.
I mean, what else? Just don't do what Beyblades kids do.
Yeah. The bar's not that high, you know? You make some enemies, you make a decent left to right area, and you just don't make it that slow and that frustrating.
Yeah.
It's easy not to frustrate players.
Make it more than like 10 frames per second.
Yeah. Now this game.
So
this is a classic.
Yeah, the graphics are obviously very well drawn. You can tell just from the intro. You can tell they had some decent artists working on this game, and you can tell when you see the sprites, they're very well done.
Yeah.
This game, we have a history with this game, both of us. We both love it very much.
Yeah, we've been playing it on and off for since it came out.
Yeah, I've probably beaten this game 3 or 4 times in my life.
That's funny because I think the development team here was only, what'd you say, 4 or 5 people?
I don't really remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember how many, but it's a pretty small team.
I remember last time we beat it, we went to the credits, and we were surprised at how few people actually worked on it.
So you can see there's a lot of secrets in this game.
Yeah.
There's a lot of secret doors, and this game does secrets right. This is one of the first games I remember that does secrets right. You don't have to find the secrets in order to progress. You don't have to find the secrets in order to beat the game, but you do get some prizes that might make the rest of the game a little bit easier, and you feel rewarded for getting the secrets.
Right.
So this game, while it's very old, there's a lot to learn from it.
Yeah.
So this is one of the most highly recommended, at least one of the most highly recommended movie titles, and probably one of the most highly recommended platformers from the 16-bit era. The control's a little bit slidey, which you can probably tell, but the game is designed with that in mind, and I think it works very well for this kind of game, for this game in particular. I mean.
Yeah. I mean, there's a huge amount of platforming, and it gets really challenging.
You'll find that there's a lot of points where you're going to be just moving. You just have to keep moving. Like either there's an enemy chasing you, or so the slidiness kind of doesn't really come into play, and it actually keeps you moving. Like you don't want to stop. And there's also the skill of pressing back to pressing the opposite direction of your jump to land your jumps, which is something you see a lot in the Super Mario Brothers games.
So just like learning how to perfect a landing, I guess, when you're jumping.
Right.
Is that sort of what you mean?
Yeah, because you don't have perfect control.
Right.
The exact one-for-one kind of control that you see in some other games.
Yeah, you're right. That is like Mario, isn't it?
Yeah.
It does require a little bit of practice.
So here's the first boss. He's pretty basic. This is where you generally want to go to first in the game because he gives you a heart piece.
Yeah, you start off with two hits. And
two hits, yeah, so and you get more as you go. But this is the easiest first one to get, so that's why I went to this point first. So if you don't understand that, the game might be a little bit more difficult. But this game, it's kind of an adventure game in a way, in that you'll learn as you go where things are, and you'll be rewarded for exploring. And the game's very open-ended. You saw the hub before, where there's that tall sort of hall with stairs full of doors.
Right.
Which I'm about to go back into here.
You know, it's sort of got the... Here it is, yeah.
So it's sort of like a Mega Man feel, but you're actually playing it instead of having like a separate select screen.
Yeah, and I like that a lot. It's got elements of a Metroidvania, I think, before they were really a thing, you know? I mean, of course, Super Metroid and Metroid were out, but at the time, Metroidvanias weren't as huge as they are now.
Yeah,
but
it's
this game,
a little bit.
Yeah, it has certainly elements.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't think I would call it a full-blown Metroid style game or Metroidvania, but
it's definitely I think a platformer first and foremost.
So each of these doors that you go into from the main hall have it's sort of like Mega Man stages. If you don't clear this whole area, and they're each made up of several rooms. So we just went through the kitchen, and now we're in Penguin Problems. Is the name of this room. You can see at the top, and you can tell there's a lot of penguins, and they have problems here.
They have a lot of problems.
So if you clear an entire stage, then you save one of the members of the family, and if you don't, you have to do the entire thing over again. So it does pay to stock up on lives, like doing easy stuff and finding secrets to stock up on lives before you really attempt one of the main stages like this.
You know, I remember these levels being a lot longer than your typical Mega Man level as well.
They're very long, yeah. It takes some time to master. So this game, it takes a little bit of patience. When you lose a life, they're very generous with the checkpoints. Like the checkpoints are basically the rooms, and the rooms in this game aren't that long. But the stages themselves, the entire levels, are very long. They're made up of sometimes 10, 20 levels. I kind of lose count. But that previous level, there are basically two ways to do that. You can either try and hop on one of the penguins' heads in the beginning and get that G symbol that you saw, which gives you invincibility, and it makes it very easy to get through the Penguin Problems room. Or you can do what I was describing earlier, and you can just run through it. And obviously the control is even slidier here because of the ice, so it keeps you moving almost like a Sonic game at that point. And those penguins, you'll start building up many of them behind you, and they'll just chase you.
It's kind of fun, actually.
It's very fun to do it that way. I kind of wish that I did that level that way, or that room that way.
Yeah.
But I chose to do it the invincibility way. I just wanted to mention that there's multiple ways to do each room, and it's not exactly a puzzle game, but there's multiple solutions, I guess you would say, to each room. So I think I cut here to a different part of the game because I wanted to show something else.
Yeah, there's a lot to see. There's I remember quite well the oven area. And the portrait. This is actually my favorite area of the game.
Oh, really? I'm sorry. I was looking for a different one. I wanted to show my favorite area of the game, so I went to the game room.
Oh, the games room.
This area, in my opinion, shows basic game design better than most other games. Like Shantae and the Pirate's Curse, we've been talking about that a lot on our current LP series.
Right.
And this kind of reminds me a lot of that. It introduces a lot of elements which you're seeing right here just by themselves. Yeah. We've got the guillotines, we've got the swinging, what do you call those? Swinging pendulum. And we've got these guys that jump up and down and shoot these boomerang type of things at you. And then we have these swirly things like from Super Mario Brothers in the castle stages.
Yeah, it introduces these each one at a time, and then where you just died, there were two of them in a row, right on top of each other.
So it gets more and more difficult as it goes, and you're going to see that through this entire level. Each room gets a little bit more difficult and uses the same elements over and over again, but they combine them in different ways, and they use their assets really efficiently, I think.
And that's logical. That's the best way to get the player acclimated, you know? So this is doing it right, for sure.
And here you saw that red cannonball, and you saw that there was a heart up at the top. Yeah. And you know that you can hop off of enemies in the game, so it kind of incentivizes you to try hopping on that to get up there. And then here you actually need to do it to progress. Yeah, so exactly. They're showing you the first time you're just rewarded for doing it, the second time you have to do it.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic design, because you're showing, the player's teaching themselves, essentially. Mm-hmm. And that's always a much better feeling.
And this game, you could go into this without an instruction manual.
Yeah.
That's always something we try to stress on our show, is that if a game can show you how to do something, especially if you can do it without a tutorial, that's nice. If it needs a tutorial, that's okay too, but we don't want to have to read an instruction manual in order to understand a game, even an old game.
God, this is so much harder than I remember. Well, no, I do remember it being hard, but...
Yeah, it is a hard game, especially if you're not familiar with where to go to get the right power-ups. But this game really rewards you for exploring And the levels are fun enough to replay that I don't mind.
Yeah.
But some newer gamers, I guess, might find it a little bit more frustrating than people who are used to these old style games. But this game does have a password system, so you can sort of save where you're going.
Yeah.
Or you can save where your progress. Yeah. So these things are like proximity bombs, which they kind of show you in the middle here. They just show you one bomb by itself just to show you how it works.
Yeah.
And those bombs appear in other levels in the game, but just in case you haven't done one of the other levels, in case you went right to this one, they show it to you again.
That's pretty smart. I like. Oh my God, this guy's going crazy.
Yeah. So consider where your players may or may not have been in your game. If there's a point like that where they may not have encountered those bombs yet, you know, show them how the bombs work.
Yeah, that's one of the dangers of an open-ended game like this, but that's handled beautifully, really. That's the way to do it.
So you just saw there we had to hop off of a cannonball in a very precarious situation with spikes at the bottom. They wouldn't if they did that at the very beginning of the level, that would have been kind of unfair.
Yeah.
Because we don't know how all the mechanics work just yet. But here, at this point, they can pretty much throw anything they want at us that they've showed us in the games room, because we understand how all the enemies and mechanics work.
Yeah, none of this feels unfair. Like it doesn't feel like a cheap death, you know. Except for sometimes the collision's a little weird, but
yeah, I agree. Sometimes the jumping collision is a little bit weird.
Yeah, but
it's not a perfect game, but it's a very, very good game.
Yeah, I'm not really gonna fault it too much for that.
And I do like how they do these. They don't just launch you straight up into the air. They show you that you're gonna bounce a little bit, but they don't just bounce you into the enemy's projectiles here.
Yeah, that would be a nightmare.
Yeah, that would be kind of annoying.
Yeah, the rack.
And so here's where it gets really difficult. I think this is actually where I die.
Yeah, as if it wasn't hard enough already. Yeah, and they just keep building on these concepts, like these spinning guys and this green egg thing. You just see them over and over and over and over.
Right,
and it just gets harder and harder.
It's still interesting though, because they do it in a different way. Like, see,
like this is awesome.
This game's kind of known as a difficult game. It's not Meat Boy difficult. It's not like ridiculous level of difficulty, but it is harder than your average platformer from the era and just from games in general.
And I mean, if you're gonna make your game long by making it more difficult, this is the way to do it. You know, you give the player all the tools they need. There's no cheap deaths really to speak of. There's no timer. You can take your time and plan if you want.
Right.
So it's rewarding as a result, even if it is pretty difficult.
Yeah, this is a game that rewards learning how to do the platforming, learning the execution, and also rewards exploration. If you explore a lot, then you'll level your guy up. Basically, you'll get more hearts, or you'll get more lives, so that you have more chances to beat the levels.
Yeah. I love this. This game over screen, there's actually a secret area in the game over
I was
screen.
just gonna say, stick around, guys, because you're gonna see something in about a minute if you stick around.
This is one of my favorite things in all of gaming. I think it's just, sentimental. I just remember it from being younger. But there's a secret area in the game over screen, which is good if you're kind of frustrated and you need to farm up some. I forget what you get in there. I guess lives.
You get a bunch of 1-ups.
Yeah. So even when you haven't been successful, the game kind of encourages you to keep going, which is nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of secrets to be found in this game. There's a lot of joy to be had in this title.
Yeah, it definitely makes it fun exploring. And that first secret room that you went to, there we go. That first secret room that was in the main hall, that secret room actually has another secret room hidden inside of it. So there's
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many secrets.
I remember
in this
now
game.
though. Yeah.
Yeah. This really is a great game.
So that's about all we got for Super Nintendo movie games. So thanks a lot for watching.